They called it honor, but it didn't feel like honor when the governor's voice echoed across the fort, and every eye turned toward me. The smoke from the burned outskirts still clung to the air, mixing with the smell of sweat, iron, and blood. Men cheered, some clapped my back, others shouted my name, like I had become something larger than myself. I'd followed orders, led the charge, and survived when others hadn't. That was all. Yet they spoke as if I had earned something rare, something to be displayed. The governor smiled as if he were presenting a fine horse. With a sharp gesture of his hand, 2 soldiers stepped aside, revealing the reward. 2 young women stood there, wrists bound with iron, dust on their faces, backs straight despite exhaustion. They were identical, so alike it was unsettling. The same dark eyes, the same sharp cheekbones, the same unflinching stare. Apache twins, someone whispered nearby, as if that alone explained everything. The noise faded into an uneasy murmur. I felt it then, a shift in the air, as though even the fort itself understood something had gone wrong. These were not spoils of war. They were not objects. They were people forced into silence by chains and tradition. The governor announced they now belonged to me, his words heavy with expectation. He spoke of strength, of usefulness, of how such a reward matched my service. The twins said nothing. They didn't plead or resist. That frightened me more than shouting ever could. Their eyes never left my face, not with fear, but with judgment, as if they were measuring the distance between what I wore on my chest and what kind of man stood beneath it. When they were brought to my quarters that evening, the guards pushed them inside and left without a word. The door closed with a final sound that echoed in my ears. They stood near the wall, chains still hanging from their wrists, waiting. For orders, for permission to breathe. I realized then how easily the world expected me to step into a role I had never agreed to play. I broke the silence by asking their names. The question alone felt like rebellion. One answered, her voice calm but steady. The other followed. Names, not titles, not property. As they spoke, something settled in my chest. This reward was not a victory. It was a test, and I already knew that if I accepted it, I would lose something far greater than rank or praise. The chains hit the floor louder than I expected, the sound sharp and final, as if something irreversible had just been decided. Both sisters froze. Not relief, no sudden rush toward the door, but a stillness, born from years of learning that kindness often comes with a hidden cost. They watched my hands closely, as though I might change my mind and lock the iron back around their wrists. "You're not my slaves," I said, the words feeling strange but necessary. "You were never meant to be." Ayana's eyes narrowed, suspicion cutting through her exhaustion. "Then why are we still here?" she asked. Her voice was steady, but beneath it lived a warning. Freedom promised too easily was rarely real. I didn't lie to them. I told them the truth as plainly as I could, that the fort did not care about justice, only ownership. That if I released them openly, another man would claim them by sunrise, and the outcome would be far worse. On paper, they were still my reward. In reality, they were guests trapped inside a lie we all had to maintain. That night, they did not sleep. Neither did I. Over the following days, the fort returned to its routine, unaware of the quiet rebellion unfolding inside my quarters. By day, the twins moved little, careful not to draw attention. By night, they spoke freely. They told me of the northern pass, of their mother's voice echoing across stone, of a life measured by seasons instead of orders. Nokomi spoke less, but when she did, her words carried weight, each one chosen with care. Once as I packed away maps, Ayana asked, "What do you gain from this?" The question cut deeper than accusation. I thought of my uniform, my standing, the way men now looked at me with envy. "Nothing," I answered finally. "That's the point." The fort buzzed with crude jokes and whispered speculation, then congratulated me with smiles that made my skin crawl. I nodded, played the role expected of me, all while counting supplies and memorizing patrol schedules. Every conversation felt like walking on a blade's edge. Slowly, a plan took shape. Not perfect, not safe, but possible. The sisters listened without interruption as I explained routes, landmarks, and where not to trust the river. When I finished, Nokomi's met my eyes. If you do this, she said quietly, there is no returning to who you were. I understood then that freedom does not arrive like a gift. It arrives like fire, destroying something first. And I was ready to let it burn. The night we chose did not feel heroic. It felt thin and fragile, as if one wrong breath could tear it apart. Clouds swallowed the moon, leaving the fort draped in uneven darkness, the kind that tricks the eyes and sharpens every sound. I checked the packs one last time. Water, dried meat, a small blade, and the papers that might buy them hours or might damn them instantly. Ayana noticed my hands shaking. Fear makes you careless, she said softly, not unkindly. Then keep me sharp, I replied. We moved when the bells marked the late watch. Boots scraped stone somewhere beyond the walls, and every distant laugh felt too loud. The twins walked without hesitation, bodies low, steps measured. This was not their first escape, I realized. It was simply the first one offered by an enemy. At the inner gate, my rank did its quiet work. The guard barely looked at the papers before nodding me through, more interested in finishing his shift than questioning authority. Power, I had learned, often survives on laziness as much as fear. Once past him, there was no turning back. If anyone raised the alarm now, the night would explode into chaos. The outer gate stood open, the desert beyond stretching wide and dark. Wind carried the smell of sage and cold earth, a reminder that the land itself was waiting. Ayana paused at the threshold, her fingers brushing the stone wall like a farewell. If this is a lie, she said, voice low, we will not die quietly. It wouldn't be right if you did, I answered. Beyond the walls, I handed them the final pack and traced the route in the dirt. Follow the stars until dawn. Reach the river, then leave it behind. East first. Always east. The words felt small compared to the risk they carried. Nokomi studied me for a long moment. They will punish you, she said. Not a question, a certainty. Yes. She nodded once. Then remember, this was not mercy. It was balance. They didn't look back when they left. Their figures dissolved into the dark, swallowed by distance and choice. I stood there longer than I should have, listening for pursuit that never came, my heart pounding loud enough to betray me. When I finally returned to the fort, the walls felt closer, heavier. I lay awake until morning, knowing that somewhere beyond those stones, 2 lives were moving forward because I had chosen to break something I could never rebuild. And for the first time since the war began, I welcomed whatever came next. Morning arrived without mercy. The alarm came with shouting, boots pounding stone, officers barking orders as if noise itself could undo what had already happened. I stood in the courtyard when the absence was confirmed, my face carefully neutral, while panic rippled through the fort. Men argued over which gate had failed, which guard would hang for it. No one looked at me at first. That came later. The governor summoned me before noon. His office felt smaller than before, the air tight with rage. He did not ask questions. He made accusations, each one sharpened by disbelief that I would dare embarrass him so publicly. I listened without interruption. When he finished, I told him the truth in a single sentence, that they were never mine to own, that I had only returned what was taken. The silence afterward was worse than shouting. By sunset, my rank was stripped. By dawn the next day, my land was reclaimed, my name scratched from future orders. Some men avoided my eyes. Others stared openly, as if trying to decide whether I was brave or foolish. No one defended me. That too was expected. Institutions do not forgive those who expose their cracks. I left the fort with what I could carry. No escort, no ceremony. The walls that once felt permanent now looked temporary, as all things built on cruelty eventually do. Each step away felt lighter, even as the weight of uncertainty pressed in. I did not know where I was going, only where I would no longer stay. Weeks passed. The land changed slowly, desert giving way to brush and stone. One evening, near the eastern hills, I noticed markings carved into a tree trunk, fresh, deliberate, impossible to mistake. 2 birds, wings outstretched, flying side by side. Apache work. I stood there a long time, running my fingers over the lines. No message, no names, nothing to trace them or me, just proof of movement, of survival, of choice. I never saw them again. I didn't need to. Losing everything I had been promised should have felt like punishment. Instead, it felt like payment. For silence I refused to keep. For a line I chose not to cross. The world continued as it always had, cruel and confident, but somewhere beyond its reach. Two sisters walked free beneath the same sky. And for the rest of my life, that knowledge was enough.